Hello and welcome to the Outcast. I'm your host HC, and with me is.
Wolf.
And today we're finishing up the little Danny Phantom retrospective, which may have gone on for a bit longer than anticipated, but what can you do? Things happen.
Unfortunately.
So, so with that being said, season 3, we are finally here. We are finishing the show off, and if you are into Danny Phantom, there is a good chance that saying the words season and three together brings you some sort of a discomfort. For this is considered to be the worst season of the show, and considering it's also the last season, yeah, people don't like this one.
That's
And
fair.
but before we get to our personal opinions, I think let's not ignore the elephant in the room. Because if you know Danny Phantom, you know one thing is for certain. The fan base is very passionate about this show. And until today, which is we are almost we are around 17 years since the show ended, and people are still begging for it to come back. The call for Danny Phantom to come back is huge, which makes you wonder why did it really go away after only 3 seasons? And apparently the reason for that is not only were the ratings a bit low for Nickelodeon to not be interested in greenlighting more, but apparently, Butch Hartman would go over budget for the animation and would also convince Nickelodeon to put a lot of money into the advertising of the show. And when the show doesn't put in the numbers that it needs to in order to cover up these costs, well, you know.
Yep. And that's how it got canceled. I believe it was also something to do with toy sales as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so one of the things again that for the Ultimate Enemy in season 2, Butch Hartman basically made Nickelodeon pay like $2 million for the advertisement, which included Burger King toys. And those didn't sell too well. And I think in general there weren't that much Danny Phantom merchandise around. Like not that I'm aware anyway.
Yeah.
So maybe there's more today, but I think this was during the time that you still needed to have other stuff on the side making money.
Hmm.
You couldn't just rely on the shows themselves. But I guess so. It wasn't making Nick the money, and I think it was also during the time that what Nick was looking for was basically just we need another SpongeBob. We need to find the next SpongeBob.
Or a new ATLA. Like,
New what?
Avatar. Like Avatar The Last Airbender.
Oh,
Like, we
so
need
you could
something
have said
that's
Avatar.
comparable. Well,
Yeah.
ATLA, Avatar. You know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but either that or either that. But I think they were just this was during the time where they were really looking for the next SpongeBob because that was the big money maker. And
Mm.
while true, they did have Avatar. Avatar is a big money maker, and it's and is beloved all over the world. Yes, but
I,
I guess though when you think Nickelodeon, I think your instinct would go more to SpongeBob rather than Avatar.
I,
You seem to agree with me. Okay, so
I
now,
can't disagree with you per se, but uh, I personally don't think of SpongeBob when I think of Nickelodeon, but I get it.
well, again, you need to understand that the general public would most likely will say SpongeBob when you say Nickelodeon.
That's fair.
But, like it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the because obviously you can say the same thing about Disney and Mickey Mouse, for example. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's just that that's the face that you recognize with a certain thing, but but kind of like how we would say like DreamWorks Animation, will bring up How to Train Your Dragon, Kung Fu Panda. Everyone else will just say Shrek.
Fair enough.
But that being said, something happened behind the scenes. While Nickelodeon were already like, yeah, after season three, Danny Phantom is out, they were still willing to give Butch the benefit of the doubt and finish the show up. Now, something that did happen though was something behind the scenes. One of the key players in Danny Phantom's creation, one Steve Marmel, actually left the show between seasons two and three. And let's say that Steve Marmel is probably as important to Danny Phantom as Butch Hartman is. And when he left apparently because he wanted to make season three a lot darker. But Butch and Nickelodeon prevailed and said, no, 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 double down on the comedy, if anything. And this is another controversial change because you know how it is when such an important key factor just leaves the show halfway through.
Mm. Like, if you're curious, Steve Marmel basically practically wrote most of season two and a good portion of season one as well, right?
Again, he's seen as basically the second in command on this show after Butch Hartman.
Yeah. He was basically, yeah, like Butch Hartman may have been the creator, but Steve Marmel is definitely the person you probably think of when you think of the writing, a lot of the writing and a lot of the story, creation for Danny Phantom through like season one and season two.
Hmm.
He did write one episode in season three. He did the
Well,
story
and
for that.
even then, he didn't really write it. He just came up with the story, and I think
Yeah,
that was because before he was let go.
yeah.
But yeah, that because apparently he wanted to make the show a lot darker for season three, and controversial take is that the show didn't need to be darker. But I would say I honestly. And this is, I guess, the point where we're just going to talk about the season for a bit. And again, no spoiler tag warning because the show is pretty old.
Over
I
17 years, in
don't think.
fact, or at 17 years, in fact.
Mhm. I don't think season three is terrible, as some other people would say. But and I think a lot of it kind of comes down to the ending, which we will get to. But I don't necessarily think that not going darker was a bad move. I just think that when you're looking at the bigger picture, what was even accomplished in this season when it comes to everything that they set up in previous seasons and this season in particular. Like everything just feels like it wrapped up too quickly, which I guess credit to at least having an ending and not ending on a to be continued or something. But it's still like it just feels underwhelming more than it's outright terrible.
I I don't disagree. I think there's some good parts. I do enjoy the ending of this season, and there's some stuff about it that I like. Like I enjoyed, Box Ghost being a good decent villain for a little bit. Wasn't the
Yeah.
greatest episode, but it was fun enough to
Hey,
some degree.
if I guess each show like this have at least that one episode where the joke villain becomes the main villain. So it was nice to see him get in on that.
Hmm. And there are a few other episodes that I thought was like, oh, you know what, this was fun. This was all right. This was enjoyable. But yeah, I would definitely go out of my way to say like there are more episodes in season two and season one, especially season two, that I think I enjoyed way overall way more. And like there's been so many of them in season two and season three, I kind of walk away going like, yeah, that was fine for a lot of
Also,
them at
interestingly
best.
enough, in the episode before the final one, the like an episode before Phantom Planet, there was this character that they seem to be familiar with who just shows up, even though I barely remember her. It seems like her name is Valerie, I think. They act as if she was a big part of the show, but she's just kind of there this season. I don't know. You get where I'm going with this joke.
Yeah, Valerie is forgotten entirely for this season, pretty much, barring like I
And then
think
like
like
she like
one or two
shows up
scenes where she's just there and that's it.
Yeah, and then like she's just they set up a good plot point for her and they never do anything with it because it was an episode before the finale. What the shit?
Yeah, yeah, they do not do anything with Valerie at all. It is
It's
bad for Valerie. You kind of feel sorry for her.
hmm I feel sorry for her. It's like what the hell, people? What in the hell?
But yeah, I don't disagree with you. Like, I think the season's fine, but after season two and and now knowing this is your last season, right? Ending on fine definitely doesn't feel good, right? And fine is probably the best descriptor you can give to season three. More often than not, it's very meh to like kind of bad even.
Yeah.
With the season going darker, I would be interested to have gotten to see that, to watch that, right? Because I
hmm
really do think, like, and maybe I'm wrong. I'd have to look at, like, I don't know enough of Steve Marmel's career after this, right? But I really do think, in some way, because, again, you had Avatar The Last Airbender airing around this time. It was getting ready, it was getting close to end. Like, I think it ended at about 2008, right?
hmm
I really do think many show creators are looking at that and saying, okay, we want to do something that's, we want to start doing things that are less episodic now. We want to start doing things that are more like story driven with arcs for every season that are like this one big story that culminates in the
So
ending and everything.
you were asking about Steve Marmel's career after this. Apparently, he was a writer for the Smash movie.
Woo. I
The
guess.
stuff you find out.
Wild. Huh.
That is not what I was expecting, if I'm honest with you.
Can't say so.
Other stuff is that he did this Justine, Yin Yang Yo, and and he was a writer for Family Guy at some point. And to be
I
honest,
think
the
everyone
only
wrote
thing
for
I've heard
Family
about this
Guy.
thing from those three is Family Guy, and people who know me know that I don't really like Family Guy.
It, yeah, fair. It's one of those things, like, but I think just about everyone has it's kind of like Simpsons in that everyone has written for Family Guy at some point. I think
Oh, and he's
now.
also written on season 12, which I think, which is basically one of the worst things Family Guy has ever done. So, yay. Eh.
So no, not a great like track record, I suppose.
To be
In
honest,
retrospect,
no
but
offense to the guy, and I'm sure that if he got to continue with what he wanted, we could have gotten some really good episodes. I am
potentially,
not saying that. What I am going to say though is that we can't really know, like
yeah,
the thought of something like, "Ooh, going darker. This is gonna be awesome. This is so much better than what this is so much better than what came before." But then I'm also just thinking to myself, we are just going in by theory here. We can't really know because we never got to see that version.
yeah. Until we can make some machine that allows us to peer into alternate dimensions where they got the darker Danny, the darker Danny. Gosh, well, where they got the darker Danny Phantom season three, we'll never know what that's like. Maybe it was great. It was the best thing since insert thing here. Maybe it was absolutely awful and terrible. We don't know. What I will say is, at the end of the day, right, whenever someone says they want to make something darker in terms of story and things like that, you always have to ask, what do you mean by that, right? Because darker ultimately is a very subjective thing, I feel. And
Mhm.
your version of darker and my version of darker may not be the same thing, number one, but two, what you like in terms of making something darker and what I like in terms of making something darker also might be completely different. So it very well could
Yeah.
have ruined the show. It very well could have made the show better for everyone. But it's hard to say. It's definitely one of
Mm-hmm.
those things of I can say I would have been interested. It definitely like sparked some interest there, and I'm curious. But at the end of the day, I have to accept what we got, right? And what we got was this, and what this was at best fine to meh, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, regardless of what we actually got and what we could have gotten, the main thing is that season 3 is what it is, and it's fine at best. Is the way I'll probably call it.
That's fair.
Would a darker take be better? Again, it's one of those things that we'll probably never know
Yep.
because we never got that season. But we are not here to talk about what could have been. We're here to talk about what we have. That being said, Eye for an Eye is the opener, and in a way, I would say not a bad opener, but I'm also thinking
Well,
that
it
Danny is
technically
really.
wasn't the opener, right?
Oh, okay. We're gonna talk about this. So then we're gonna talk about
I
this.
mean, I guess we kind of have to because it happened to Danny Phantom every single season.
Yeah. So to those who don't know, the first episode of season 3, it wasn't the first one to air. Neither was the second one, neither was the third one, neither was the fourth one, neither was the fifth one. It was the sixth episode of the fucking show.
Yep.
If you're wondering why the hell they did that, good fucking
Nick,
question.
we
But
don't know. Nickelodeon.
okay,
That's what we can
sup-
tell you.
supposedly, for I heard it was for marketing reasons. And I guess if you want to market something, then might as well air the episode where Danny gets the new power. I
It's also Mark
guess.
Hamill as well, right? Like,
Yeah, but let's assume Mark Hamill is kind of awesome anyway. People, you don't
fair.
necessarily. He's like an addition, but he's not necessarily going to bring in newcomers.
Probably not. Like, I don't like. It's one of those things of like, like having Mark Hamill guest star doesn't really, like, again, he's great. I love him, but a lot of people are gonna see that name and be like, who, what? Like you could maybe do, guest starring Mark Hamill, the voice of the Joker, and that might bring some people in, being like, "Oh, Joker, I know that." But otherwise,
Luke Skywalker, that kind of stuff. Yeah,
yeah, like that's the only way you might invite some new people in. But otherwise, like people aren't gonna really know him by
the
name per
guy, the
se.
guy who voiced the Fire Mask in Crash Bandicoot: The World of Cortex.
That'll draw him in.
Yeah,
That's the
but
key.
okay, but
But
jokes
it's
aside,
really weird though that episode
yeah,
6 is the
they,
first.
but you want to know something weirder? I'm probably going to blow your mind about this. There was a video game based on that episode,
Hmm. Did not know that.
and yeah, it's the better of the two Danny Phantom games. But here's the funny thing that you are probably wondering. You know how Danny gets ice powers in this episode? In
Hmm.
the game, he also has fire powers.
Cool.
They literally turned them into the Avatar.
I mean, might as well. Nickelodeon has one
Yeah,
vision, and
but
that's
here's the
just
thing.
either
eh,
SpongeBob or Avatar.
Yeah, but and here's the other thing. Okay, fine. You want to advertise this episode first because Danny has a new power. Fair enough.
Are you gonna
But
mention it?
eh, what?
Are you gonna mention it? Go ahead. I'll wait.
But this is the one time where continuity in this show is really fucking important because the episode which introduces a character, because in this episode, Danny just is like, oh, hey, there's this guy named Frostbite. Hey, I remember you. And we're like, the fuck is that guy? Because we don't see the actual episode where Danny meets Frostbite until later because Nickelodeon aired episode 6 before they aired episode 2.
Now, another great thing about this though is you got episode 6 about half a
Yeah.
year before any of the rest of the
Yeah,
season
there
aired
you
as
go.
well.
Like I'm actually looking at this. Like like see episode 6 aired like on October of 2006,
Yep,
and then like everything else aired in July. Like the first episode aired after half the season was done.
yep.
Were the people drunk?
I Nickelodeon was wild back in the day, man. Don't ask. We don't know. This is why people look at Avatar, and start to ask. Like, people see things like this about old Nickelodeon, and they look at Avatar from back in the day, and like,
And looking
how
at
the
this
fuck
was
did
around
they
the
get
same
this
time as
made?
Avatar.
But yeah,
Yeah,
but
so
like, you do have to ask the
I think
question, like, how did Avatar do what it was able to do and get itself made with as little issue as it did? They didn't start
yeah,
having problems until Korra.
that's the thing when I'm keep saying that, and I said this in our podcasts about it too, probably that when I say that Avatar: The Last Airbender is like a miracle in the world of television, I fucking mean it. Look at how
Mhm.
Nickelodeon treated another show in that around the same time.
And
It's insane.
this isn't special to Danny Phantom, by the way. Like,
No,
there's an
obviously
entire
not.
discussion you could have how Nickelodeon treated a lot of its shows. It was not
Yeah.
great. Like, some shows got
Mhm.
some shows they did better with, like SpongeBob, but many
Well,
of their
but
shows they treated
let's
kind of
admit
poorly.
though, what's the harm that you're gonna have if you see episode 6 of season whatever of SpongeBob before episode 1?
How dare you taint the sanctity of SpongeBob canon?
Okay, what is SpongeBob canon?
I don't know. I'm sure there's
There,
someone out there who can
there
tell
you
you about
go.
it.
There you go. Don't talk to me about SpongeBob's canon, okay? The world is gonna break.
Listen, you can't see the Krusty Krab pizza episode before you understand what Krusty Krab is. There you go. That's SpongeBob canon.
Okay, so by that logic, I can also say you can see any episode of Danny Phantom before realizing that he's half ghost. Oh wait, the intro tells you about that.
I mean, any.
So for the episodes themselves, let's actually talk about episode 1, the
Yeah,
actual episode 1.
just a weird
Okay?
thing that was, it's always interesting to point that out when it comes to Danny Phantom because it happened every season that things got aired in really weird ways. Don't ask why.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. But yeah,
Yeah, but so things aired at a very weird order, but you know what? Fine, whatever. We let's talk about episode 1, Eye for an Eye. And I will say, not a bad episode, but the reason for it happening is like Danny kind of brought this on himself for no particular reason.
yeah, no, he's definitely his own worst enemy in this one,
Yeah. And then also,
and he kind of
but
got what he deserved a little bit.
yep. And to be honest, Vlad is. I kind of like how Vlad is starting to take Danny as a more serious threat, but I am also like, how far does this need to go, my dude? It's just a 14-year-old kid. I know that he fucks up your plans every so often, but then again, I don't know. There's something funny, but something also really weird about the plot for this one.
It's definitely. eh, I get what you mean, right? Like, it's definitely it feels very childish, but I think it does kind of work for Vlad's character and just how spiteful he is a lot of the times, right?
Mhm.
Because it
Yeah, but
definitely, you get the feeling of like, all right, this is definitely something Vlad would do to get back at like Danny or Jack or
and
something like
there is
that.
actually there is actually a part that I really enjoy when Vlad overshadows all the voters, and you just see Jack there. Out of my way, I'm voting for Vlad, and then he gets overshadowed. I mean, out of my way, I'm voting for Vlad. I don't know. I found that funny,
Mm-hmm.
and then we also we just I am just starting to think though, like what is actually Vlad's plan with owning Amity Park? Because it was never really that I guess you could say that he's only just doing this out of spite for Danny, which fair enough. But also, once it's all said and done, dude, you took over yourself to run a fucking city.
It'll be fine.
I
But no, I
mean,
get what you
yeah,
mean. Like,
I.
it's definitely a weird plan, other than just to spite Danny. It's
Mhm. Yeah, and again, I get it. Okay, you want to spite your arch enemy, fair enough. But also like and especially because I think by the season two finale, he was basically ready to have Danny dead, right? Like after that, Kindred Spirits, the episode with Danielle, like Vlad was pretty psychotic in that one, and especially after his perfect clone boy was basically killed in front of him. He's like, nah, this boy is dead. I'm done. The
I
gloves
mean,
are off.
that's kind of that unfortunate episodic nature, right? Like things are forgotten, right? We change characters somewhat every single time.
Mhm.
Because season three has a lot of issue where it kind of goes back to like, hey, this lesson that Danny learned, let's learn it again. I'm like,
Yeah.
I
But
hate
so
that.
again, I kind of enjoy this, especially I enjoy the climax where Danny actually has enough power and experience to take over Vlad's clone, and the way that he does make beat Vlad in this one is actually pretty interesting and funny,
Mm-hmm.
and that
Mm-hmm.
works.
Yeah.
But it all kind of comes back to the setup of, why would you prank Vlad to begin with and just keep the whole thing going until he took over your city? Hello?
You could argue him getting like because he has to get Vlad to shoot him, right? Basically, and kind of almost blow him up and everything. At least kind of
Mhm.
Danny gets his own kind of comeuppance, I suppose. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely a weird episode.
Mhm. So moving on from that to episode two, Infinite Realms. What do you think? This is another interesting one.
I like the idea of the map, right? And like
Mhm.
the who's the yeah, this is Frostbite. I also like Frostbite as well as a character.
I don't mind Frostbite. What I do mind, this is another part of those where Butch Hartman took over and Steve Marmel might have had other plans for this, but
Mm.
this is the point where it becomes clear that the ghosts in this show aren't the spirits of dead people.
Yeah, yeah. This is where you start to okay, the ghosts are just kind of their own thing, really.
Yeah,
We've
there are
kind of lost.
creatures that just exist, and
Yeah.
that the ghost zone is the flip side of Earth. And then there's also a joke that apparently there are other portals into the ghost zone that just kind of exist in random parts of the world. And one of them is the Bermuda Triangle.
Which that part I think is fine, right?
Like,
I'm not
this is
against
like,
that part, but like yeah, it's the idea of losing the, ghosts being dead people and everything, right? I think that was but
yeah, because this is kind
it's
of
an interesting thing,
retconning.
but it's definitely something the show's never really explored at all. So it would have been nice to explore that, and if that's what Steve Marmel was going to explore more of, I would have been down for that, but I don't know, right? So I can't say.
Yeah, but then okay, so you kind of give us this little bit of info dumping, which interesting, not necessarily what I would go for though. And I have some
Not really,
and my eyebrow is raised, as they say.
probably not what a lot of people really wanted either, myself included.
Hmm.
Like it's fine,
Yeah,
but it's definitely one of those things of like, all right, I guess, cool.
and from there on out, we find out this infimap, which you can basically take one to wherever. And then we find out that Vlad has a hidden camera in Danny's house. I hope he doesn't have one in the shower for when Maddie is there. That's all I'm gonna say. And then turns out that he does know about the infamap, and now he wants to try and take it away from Danny.
Mm.
Not a bad setup, and there are some actually cute. I like the joke where the kid tells his mom, "Mommy, are you sure there are no ghosts under my bed?" And she tells them like this phrase, and then he just shows up and scares the both of them because they got the phrase wrong. And Sam does call him out for it, like, "Listen, this kid is traumatized." And he goes, "But I didn't want her to screw up the phrase because that's the one I know." It's like, are you for real, dude? Are you for real?
He'll get over
Yeah, most likely. Just a few years in therapy.
it. Not a
Um,
big deal.
so so then Vlad takes the map, and this is the point where people are really starting to be off about this season because he asks to go to fire to be taken to his destiny, and apparently his destiny is to rule. Did he ever want to rule anything? Like ever?
Don't ask questions. Why are you asking questions?
Because I think it's 3 seasons in. I'm ready to. I earned the right to get answers for these types of
No,
questions.
it's fair. And I mean, like, it definitely feels like we're starting to kind of rewrite Vlad's character a lot so we can make him into more of the big final bad that we're going to face. And you
Yeah,
really get the
and
feeling of that this season because he's way more prevalent in this season than he was in the past 2 seasons, I feel.
to the point that well, this is also started in season 2, but Martin Mull isn't even getting like the special guest credit anymore. He is just part of the main cast.
Yeah.
And listen, I get it. I get that they want to make him the big bad, but here's the thing: he was the big bad up until now, not because he wanted to take over the world, but because he was basically an older, eviler version of Danny. So that's what made him unique. That's what made him interesting. You don't need to have him take over the world in order to make him threatening.
Yeah, I would agree. You have potentially other ghosts that you can use for that. But also, I don't know, it's one of those things of like based off season 2, where do you go with Vlad, right? Like, I think it would have been better to do to continue to do other and different ghosts, personally.
Hmm. Yeah,
And they do do a
at least
little bit of that here, but
not
it's a lot of the time
focusing
it's
on
just
it,
Vlad
not
still,
focus on him that much.
which is wild to say, but like you've it's I think right the issue is it feels like they're kind of trying to switch to something that's a little bit more story driven and focused on a particular villain and character, but they're still not fully switching to that, right? Because you
Hmm.
still have a lot of episodes where it's still episodic and things don't really reflect back on other things that happened before that are happening now, right? You have a little bit of
Hmm.
that, but it's still episodic in nature. And
Yeah.
like if you're gonna pick a lane, stick to that lane. If you're gonna go down the lane of Vlad being the main villain for this like for one big final arc, right? It's story arc and everything. Stick to that. Really do that. Or
Hmm.
just stick to the episodic thing and just do that like you have been doing. Like pick a lane, I feel personally,
Yeah.
because
And
you're trying to
again,
do a little bit of both
honestly,
and I don't think it does well.
pick a lane is basically the best way to describe this entire season because it doesn't feel like they even know if they want to wrap things up because they know they won't have any more episodes after this, or if they just decided, you know what, let's just do more. Let's give more villains, more stuff, more everything. And they don't really find the right balance, and I think they needed to choose. It's either one or the other.
It definitely ends up hurting them a lot.
Hmm. Well, that being said, this episode kind of just ends with Vlad finally being like, "Okay, I'm take me to my destiny," and then the destiny is that his guy is going back to Frostbite. Frostbite beats him up, and they get the map back, and everything's hunky dory.
Woo.
Moving on to episode 3, Girls' Night Out. Honestly, I like this one. This one is
Yeah, it was
cute.
fun.
Mhm. I enjoy the one nitpick I have though is that when doing the Danny, Jack, and Skulker side story, I'm kind of disappointed that at no point does Danny find out that Amber is Colker's girlfriend, because it gives Colker so much shit for, wow, I can't believe you have a girlfriend, that imagine if he knew that was Amber. The reaction would have been hilarious. Like, it was right there, people.
True.
Also, to be honest, not sure how to feel about Amber and Skulker being in a relationship. Like, it's kind of nice to see that all of these villains are kind of hanging out, in their spare time together. I like that idea, and especially and the fact that they can have deeper connections with each other is interesting, because again, we have Johnny 13 and Kitty in this who are in this episode
Well,
as well.
you say that, but
I
like
enjoy that
Johnny 13 and Kitty, right, are
they were established as a
well,
couple.
that and again going back to the like, oh, the ghosts are people who died and everything, right? Like there's a connection there from their previous life.
Hmm.
This kind of again, we're just kind of overriding the idea that, the ghosts are people who died, right? Like ignore
Yep.
that again because these two can be, in a relationship now, which does feel a little weird if you're going with the original idea. So, like, once again, you're kind of overriding that and moving that off to the side and saying, hey, it's not actually dead people. Don't worry about it. Forget that bit.
Yeah. And then again we come to the things when I'm saying, okay, I get it, fine, they both can date, sure, why not, but I'm also answering, was there ever any indication that that's the case? It's not the first time we see the characters interact, so like, what?
It, it definitely feels thrown in there for, like, this particular episode just to make it a thing. And, like,
It's
there wasn't
like,
really
okay,
much thought put
I
into it
guess that's
because
fair. We
it's
needed we needed shipping in this show. Like, we
well,
don't
it's
have
not
enough.
that. It's just like it's thrown in there as like a hey, this is a thing. All right, moving on. There's no real care taken to it because if you're actually putting care into it, right, like you can start asking the question. All right, if the
The,
ghosts are people who
when
died, like
they
how does that work?
when they do it, is Skulker inside their suit or is he outside of it? Because I have questions.
These are not the kind of questions we need answers to.
Oh,
Moving
but you know
on.
that everyone is asking it.
Episode 4, Torrent of Terror.
No, no, no. We're not done with episode 3
Oh
yet.
no. I think we are.
And okay, but jokes aside, to the
Not
main
fair.
plot itself. So I enjoyed the idea of Jazz not being fully accepted into Danny's group yet, because because Tucker and Sam has a connection by this point. They've been through this for a longer time than she has.
Mhm.
And on the one hand, I kind of enjoy her just trying to be, the big sister side leader while Danny is out. But Sam and Tucker do have more experience than her when it comes to this thing, and in a way, forcing the two of them to work together and forcing Sam to see, hey, Jazz can have good ideas too. I enjoyed this interaction, and it was a good way to build up team morale, I suppose. And it's also interesting to see Maddie for once actually being in on the action.
You keep mentioning Tucker HC. This is girls' night out.
He is there for a few
Eh,
minutes. I'm gonna
eh.
mention it.
No, but I do like the Sam, Jazz, and Maddie interaction, right? Like that's definitely a trio that you don't like. We've never really seen before, hardly at all. So it's
Hmm.
I do that is one thing I think Danny Phantom does well when it decides to put different characters together, right? That you wouldn't have thought about putting together. There's good back and forth between all of them. That's
Yeah, and
enjoyable.
let's say we've never seen Spectra, Kitty, and Amber together,
Yeah,
interacting. And I think you know what, that's a good team up.
yeah.
Yeah, true, true. Two-thirds of it is Terra Strong, so it's not necessarily
It's mostly just Tara
chemistry in the.
Strong acting with herself, but
Yeah, so like in a way, I'm not sure how much chemistry you can have when two of the three people are the same person, technically. But it took me a while to figure out that it's the same person. So you know what, it works.
I mean, again, to her credit, like you said, right? It takes you a while. It took you a while to figure it out, and she pulls it off really well. Like,
Oh, she does.
but that's
Yeah.
Tara Strong. Like, she's good like that. She's talented.
There you go. And to be honest, there's also another thing that I really like about this i- is that so Johnny 13 is just blowing up steam with Danny. Skulker does the same thing, and Bertrand is just kind of left to the side because they don't give a shit about him. The entire episode basically starts because he's like, "Hey, they don't like me, so I'm telling you where they are." Yeah, I don't like these guys. I found it funny.
Yep.
That being said, anything else you want to say about this episode?
No, it's one of the better ones. I think. Like, it's just fun.
Mhm. Okay, so moving on with that,
Torrent of
we
Terror.
returned of Terror. Vlad's back.
Woo! We get Vortex, a weather ghost. Danny gets weather powers.
I'm not sure if he necessarily gets weather powers, but
I mean, he
it
kind
is.
of does, but
Yeah,
then like they're
But
temporary weather powers. They're not permanent because you're never gonna see him again.
Mhm. But then again, another thing, again with character development, this is the first time we see him fully mastering the cloning power that he finally gets himself. That he finally gets to like make for of himself. He never does it again, ever.
Well, yeah, but we don't need that. We've not needed that in like many
Oh,
seasons.
I don't care. He made such a big stink about not being able to do it he finally does. Give him more chances to use it, for God's sakes.
No,
Yes,
we got a cool ice power to show off later. HC
you are the problem, Wolf. You are
that
the problem.
we got a cool ice power that we showed off half a year earlier that we got to bring back. You forgot about it.
No, I didn't. No, I did not. Hmm. Uh, but anyway, okay. So Vlad brings out this ghost so that he could pretend that he controls the weather. I mean, if Donald Trump had the ghost powers, he would probably do the same thing. So
Again, like it's so weird the ideas they have Vlad like what does controlling the weather get him? Why is this a thing?
voters, it gets some
It's
voters, even
so
though we can
dumb.
overshadow the voters.
Like what does it matter? You're already the mayor. Why do you need voters? It's so weird.
Yeah, I can't, I don't.
It's like again, it definitely comes off as like, hey, we've rushed around to make Vlad this new really big bad evil guy who's doing all these
And
things, but it's like,
for the record,
why?
there are some funny bits in this episode, like when
No, no, fair,
in
fair.
the end, where Tucker has to play with Danny's emotions, to because that's the best way to defeat Voltex. And then so there's where he sees a bunch of Paulinas, come play with us, Danny, and then Dash just runs in and it's like, hey, Fenton, and he's like, damn it, that's a funny bit. Or when Vlad needs to keep Danny happy, and Danny keeps calling him Anki Vlad because he knows that it pisses him off and it makes him chill. That's funny too.
Mm-hmm. Fair, fair.
But again, everything it's like, okay, I can name a few funny things about episodes, and then it just like, okay, moving on.
Pretty much.
And I keep going back to the entire. It's a funny episode, but what is the point of it in the premise? The premise I have a problem with.
It just like yeah, like why is Vlad doing this? Why does Vlad want to do this? What is the point of this? Like that's what you keep coming back to, and you can say, oh, it's just episodic in nature, but like even your episodic shows and your episodic in your episodes within your episodic shows still have to have like some kind of point to them for your villains, right? Like they have to be doing something for a reason that makes sense with the character you've seen them as leading up to this
Mhm.
point.
Yeah.
I can't tell you why, like other than wanting to defeat Danny, which I guess that's fine. I can't tell you why Vlad would want to team up with, Vortex and control the weather, right? And they don't even make in like at the end of the day, they don't make this a thing about really defeating Danny. They do it because Vlad wants to be popular. So he looks to increase his popularity by showing that he can quote unquote control the weather. Like, when did Vlad start caring about popularity? The dude's filthy fucking rich. Like, that was kind of the point
Hmm.
when we first saw him. It's like he doesn't care about any of these things. He has all the money in the world. He just buys whatever he wants to buy and then goes on.
Besides the Packers.
Besides the Packers, that's the one thing he can't buy.
Yeah. Well, moving on to episode 5, Forever Phantom.
Like, that would have been kind of funny. He gets the weather ghost just so he can like give the Packers bad weather because they won't let him buy them, right? So he's trying to tank
Yeah,
their
oh my
value.
god, you
That would
just
have been
came up
funny.
with that would have been hilarious. Oh my god, where was this episode? You see, if Steve Marmel wrote it, that's what we would.
Steve Marmel wrote it. I don't know if that's what we would have gotten. I think that's too funny for Steve Marmel potentially. Steve
Yeah,
Marmel would have been
I know,
dark
I
with
know,
it.
I know. I'm just joking because we talked about it so much about how different it would have been if he remained. So it's like, you know what? I'm gonna say it. Might as well.
Well, yeah, Nickelodeon. There you go. There's a show idea for you for your
Like you
17-year-old
said,
show that's not aired in 17 years.
yeah, you see Nickelodeon. This is what you should have done. Mm.
Yeah, hire me as a
Okay.
writer 17 years ago.
So going back to it, like, Forever Phantom. So a mofo is a thing that exists.
I was kind of mad about this one, to be honest.
Like, the I don't mind. Again, I guess it's like a common theme. I don't mind the general idea of the episode, right? I don't mind that, an episode where Danny just stuck in the ghost form, and he can switch back. That's actually interesting. You can do something. You can do some cool stuff with that. But when it comes to everything else, including the villain himself who just pops out of nowhere, and that's it. No, just no.
Well, I also feel like we've done this better. What was the name of the episode before? Identity Crisis, right?
Yeah, identity crisis.
I feel like Identity Crisis also wasn't like one of my favorite episodes. I still kind of feel like Identity Crisis did this better
Hmm.
personally. And it's like,
And
again, I get it. I
and
know
the
we're
other thing that
episodic.
kind
We're
of
gonna
bugs me
revisit
with this
ideas from
episode,
time to time.
Jazz is a fucking dumbass in this episode, and she comes across this ghost who is masquerading as her brother, and as her brother's human form, and then she activates the ghost alarm when she knows that her brother in his ghost form is right there chasing the one that looks like his human self, which alarms both of their parents to go after Danny. And she's never taken any responsibility for it. She just does it to get the episode going, and she never shows up again. Jazz, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, this is probably the biggest case of character assassination, and it goes away in like 5 seconds.
No, no, no. The biggest case of a character assassination is Valerie. Let's be honest, because you don't get to see her
Well,
character.
I mean, yeah, there's that. And no, that's not character assassination. That is character delete from history.
Who? Vala what?
Exactly. Exactly. So, but anyway, so I enjoy the idea of Danny being stuck in phantom form. I just don't get this villain who is just kind of. I guess he changes into other people because he wants to have fun or because it's cool for him. Maybe.
Eh, again, it definitely one of in my opinion, one of the weaker episodes of this season.
Yeah. And then I get the one joke that I do like is when Tucker and Sam try to dress up as Danny Fenton to distract Danny's parents. And when Sam does it, Jack actually points out, have you ever noticed that Danny kind of runs like a girl? And then there's also the part that I actually enjoy when he tries to get Emorpho out of there, and Emorpho is looking like Mr. Lancer at this point. And then like Emorpho just decided because Danny can go intangible or fly, so he just grabs Danny by the shirt and he just jumps and goes intangible while passing through Jack. And both Jack and Maddie are like in shock that Danny's teacher is doing this. That's funny. It's never
Yeah.
acknowledged again, but it's funny.
Mr. Lancer's actually another character we kind of forgot about this season as well.
Yeah, I think like besides this episode, does he even in this season?
I don't. If he was, I literally don't remember.
Like maybe in the
Gonna be
camping
honest.
episode.
Maybe I don't remember.
But again, like it's like,
I mean, he's not a major character, so it doesn't matter. But like, still,
but like Ron Perlman,
true.
I guess he wasn't available or something. I don't know. But
Maybe.
anyway. So now to the actual first episode. I mean, episode 6,
Yep.
Urban Jungle, the one that got another game, which was actually pretty fun. If you haven't played it, get out, find a Game Boy Advance on Nintendo DS and give it a play. Because it's pretty fun.
If you can find a
Um,
copy of this game,
yeah. Uh, nothing you can't find, nothing you can't find on eBay. I hope for decent prices. I
your
hope.
har,
Oh, you can emulate it. No one will run it against you, I suppose.
your
But
har.
mm, so anyway, Urban Jungle. I guess it was an okay one.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun, right? I mean, it's Mark Hamill as the villain. That's always a fun time, right? You can never go wrong with Mark
Mhm.
Hamill getting to play a villain more often than
Yeah.
not.
hmm And my guess, you know what? I really want to make the obvious pun, but you'll kill me. And we are kind of in a season where I'm surprised they didn't do this as well. But Danny's new power is pretty cool. You muted me, didn't you?
No, I'm just
Okay.
gonna. Here's your clap, clap. There you go. That's
Thank
what you
you.
get. I don't
Hon-
have the rim
Honestly,
shot set up on the
honestly, you
soundboard.
gave me too much. This was too much. This pun was terrible.
Here,
Well,
here, I'll give you this. Where is it at? Did you hear that?
it wasn't even the whole thing. It was just half of it.
That's all
What,
you
what,
get. Half.
yeah.
You get
it wasn't
half.
even it wasn't even good enough for the rim shot. Wow.
That's what you get. You get half a
Wow.
rim shot.
Yeah, fair enough. You know what? I take it. I take it. I deserve it. So, anyway, Urban Jungle. So yeah, not sure what to feel about the ghost sense. Not necessarily retcon, but for like, oh, apparently this was a bigger part of your freezing power the whole time, and it's like, uh-huh,
Yeah.
uh-huh.
Again, it's like it's one of those things of like, hey, I'm fine with it. It's just kind of weird, but all right. You didn't really need to
Uh,
explain it. Like you've not really explained any of his other ghost powers and how they connect, but
Yeah, and
whatever.
especially because, but it is kind of interesting to think that Vlad never showed that, Vlad never showed that he had a ghost sense. So and he doesn't have the ice powers, so interesting. But then Danielle has this ghost sense, so does she have the ice powers too, despite being a clone? And then we also, if we go back, you see that Dark Danny's ghost sense is red. So does he have fire powers? Is that how it works? It just makes me ask
Shrug.
questions.
Another, since we're talking of ghost powers, what happened to the ghostly whale?
He barely uses that one. Like, I think besides Phantom Planet, does he use it?
I don't. I don't remember him using it in Phantom Planet. Maybe he did.
He does. In
He
Phantom
does.
Planet,
Okay,
he does.
I must have like blinked and I missed it. I can't. I,
Okay, well, we'll get there, but like, yeah, like, did he? I'm trying to.
no, it just
I'm fast forwarding it. I don't remember it in season 3, like at all. Besides Phantom Planet, holy
this
shit!
is this is kind of again. This kind of comes back to just like a problem that I have with episodic shows, right? Like we'll get introduced to something and then that thing will just be forgotten for an entire season until it's finally maybe brought back up or just not. And it's
Mhm.
just annoying in a way, right? Because it's like, man, why don't you use this? Because this would solve a bunch of problems right now. Eh, nah. I, I just, I listen. I hate episodic shows. I'm sorry. I cannot
Well,
stand them.
I guess what you mean more is that you hate episodic shows in a show like this, which does seem to try and have, an overarching plot.
To a little bit like it does, right? And that's kind of a little bit more annoying because it's like, man, I know you remember you did this stuff. You're just not using it on purpose because if you used it, you wouldn't have the plot that you currently have for this episode. And it's like, it's kind of annoying,
I guess.
gonna be honest.
Hmm.
But anyways,
Well, well. Anywho,
I've
damn.
I have moaned and bitched and whined enough about episodic shows as we've covered the 3 seasons of Danny Phantom. People are probably tired of it. But
Who
I'm
knows?
consistent, unlike Danny Phantom.
I guess. So yeah, Urban Jungle, okay episode. Not gonna half and half about the new power, but it's all right. Mark
Yeah, it's
Hamill as
fine.
a villain, always fun.
Yeah,
And yeah, living large.
it's not a bad, episode 1. Cough, cough.
I
6.
guess, yeah. Yeah. It was definitely a season opener of all time.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Living large.
I like the butler from this one. He was cool. I can't say much else about this one because it's kind of meh otherwise.
I don't get this episode.
I feel like this episode might be in a way, very Americana, right? And unless you like live in America, you may not care for this one as much. I could be wrong, right? I would love to hear what people overseas think about this one.
If get living in America, what the hell is even the plot of this?
I mean, government comes in, offers you a large amount of money to buy your land and everything, and you're like, yeah, I accept. And then you
Yeah.
let the money go to your
And
head.
then you let, and that's the thing. It feels like Danny is learning this fucking lesson again.
Wait, Danny got rich in a previous episode? What?
No, but it's again the thing where at first he's like, "Oh my God, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? The guys in white own my house now. What the hell?" And then he's just like, "Oh, I put a password on the ghost portal. Whatever. I'm gonna be a douche now. I'm gonna be a douche again." And it's like, "Are you for fucking real, dude?"
Welcome to episodic.
It's not even that. It's just, did we forget? Like, I get what they're trying to do, but like, Danny's never been this type of character. And also, like, look at Sam. Sam is filthy rich.
Yeah, but Danny wasn't.
Just don't fucking buy this. I don't like I kind of enjoy the climax, to be honest, and I do enjoy the fact that Vlad is only there for a scene, only to establish a way for Danny to get to the ghost zone.
Mm.
That's literally the only reason he's in this episode, and that's it. He's just kind of there, and then they try to stop the rocket, and they stop the rocket, and then he's being a dick to Johnny 13 because he needs a motorcycle for some reason.
Pretty much, as you do.
What else do you want? What else do you want me to say?
I mean, yeah, it's it's okay at best episode. It's kind of like going back to like that's gonna be what you're gonna get told for a lot of episodes from the season. It is okay,
Hmm.
and that's it.
Well, so
Like I said,
moving on
I
to
like the butler from this one.
yeah, the butler
That's
was
my
fine, and then again,
commentary.
and he never shows up again.
Nope.
Anyway, Box Top Fury. So we talked about this. The Box Ghost finally gets an episode to be the main villain, and I enjoy the fact that by the end, his Walt is only $2.
It's fun enough. Like it's a fine episode, but it's not anything like super amazing or important or anything like that. It's just, hey, here's this joke character we've had for the past 2 seasons. Let's give him a thing now. Let's throw him a bone and let
Yeah.
him be something that's not a joke for once, right? And that's it.
Hmm. So again, nothing much else to say. But I do enjoy at the beginning that he's trying to be all, and he says that eat all those sandwiches and your blood vessels are gonna be sealed forever. And Sam goes, yeah, in like a 40 years. And he goes, slow. It's a slow death, and that was funny.
No, I like that. It's a good opener.
And to be honest, if you feel like you absolutely need to shoo Pandora's box into Danny Phantom, might as well do it with the box ghost.
True. It makes a lot of sense. But we're still kind of getting into that thing of apparently mythology characters are ghosts now too? Question mark.
I guess, maybe. I guess.
All
I
right.
have a headache. I have a headache from thinking
Understood.
about. So anyway, what else do we have? Do Should we just move on to the next episode? I don't really have
I don't
much to
have, yeah, I
say.
don't, this one's fine. It's a box ghost episode. Like, I don't have a lot to say about it. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just
Like,
is what it
it's fun
is.
enough, and it's nice to see him get his due before the show ends. So might as well. Now, moving on to the next episode, Frightmare. I think this is the best episode in the entire season.
Hey, I'm gonna disagree with you. I do think
Mhm.
Phantom Planet is better.
Oh ho ho! Somebody says Phantom Planet is not only better but good.
I don't think it's good. I didn't say it was good.
Mm.
I thought it was better than this. There's a there's
Well,
a large gulf between good and this being better and then another episode of this season. That's a
okay.
big difference.
So you know what? Let me. What don't you like about this episode?
And nothing I don't like about it. I just kind of thought Phantom Planet was a little bit better. That's all I can really tell you.
Okay, so we'll get to Phantom Planet. But I think, in terms of an episode of Danny Phantom, this is just a bit more my speed in terms of what I want to see. I know that it's like a
Hmm.
standalone thing and everything, but I feel like in terms of the character dynamics and character studies, I suppose, and also this is the one where the comedy really works. Like, I enjoy that in order to wake up his friends, Danny basically has to go inside their dreams. And then, when he finds out that in Tucker's dream, he's the janitor, and he just tells him, seriously, dude, I'm your janitor. And that wakes Tucker up. And then, that's just a small bit in Sam's dream where he just makes Dash transform into Danny Phantom. That's, forget the season. This is probably one of the funniest moments in the entire show.
No, that's fair.
That's great. And also, I enjoy the climax. It's just, I think, it's a good episode. Is it one of the best episodes of the show? No, but this is one that I remember fondly.
No, that's fair. I would agree with you on all that. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with it. It just, there's other episodes I like more than it, but that's fine. I completely agree with you. I think you're right.
Yeah. So, anything you want to add, or are we moving on to what the hell is
No, I
this
think you covered
episode?
this one really well. It's fun.
So, Claw of the Wild,
It's
Walker
definitely
is back, and you do too, Wolf.
har
I
har.
thought, to be honest, when
Let me.
this aired initially, I completely forgot that Wolf is a character in this show.
I mean, you see him at the end, like you get a little like, hey, there's Wolf there in the big crowd. Cool.
Yeah. No, like it's like okay, oh Wolf, right? Yeah, Wolf. Remember Wolf? Yeah, I do. Yeah, he's there. He's there. Awesome, I guess. Honestly, not a bad premise for an episode. I just think it's a bit, I don't know, just kind of there.
Yeah, and you're also kind of bringing Walker back, and it's like, I feel like there's some villains when they're beaten don't bring them back personally, because Walker definitely felt like he was kind of done after his two-parter, right?
Mhm. Mm, Yeah, which again, I get why you would want to bring him back because there's stuff you can do with him, but also like
I don't know. It felt like we were done with Walker personally to me.
I don't know. Like it's this episode didn't give me a reason to like understand why he's back.
Hmm, fair. Which definitely can
But
help
overall,
in this matter.
I guess I do enjoy the perspective of hey, you know what, this is like let's do a summer camp episode, and then there's like a conspiracy there. Long before Five Nights at Freddy's was ever a thing. So that's interesting. But it's like, all right, sure, whatevs. I'm not. I don't feel strongly about it, but I also don't. I don't mind.
Oh, fair.
So yeah. With that being said, we're really rushing through this. So you know what? Destabilized. You take this one.
Me take this one. Ugh. Danny Phantom's back. Right. That Danny Phantom, not Danny Phantom.
Yeah, Danielle.
Yeah, she's back. It's actually a pretty decent one. Like, we finally get to like kind of finish her little story bit of her being like a destabilized clone because she needs to fully stabilize herself now. And
Mhm.
Vlad's back going after her again. And we get a new character who we've never seen
Yeah, I
before.
already, I already made a joke.
Valerie's back. We finally get something with her. And
Yeah.
I forget, it's been a bit. What did we set up with Valerie in this one? You mentioned it. So you take the lead.
So in the end, throughout the entire time, there's the point where Danny, like lead character Danny, tries to convince her that Vlad might not be that much of a goody two shoes as he makes Valerie believe. And Valerie is just like, no, he's like my boss. He's a good dude. I trust him. And Vlad actually, splits himself into two to try and make sure to keep the ruse going with Valerie.
Mm-hmm.
But then after they save Danielle, and she's stabilized now, so she lets Danny go, and then she realizes, oh shit, I forgot about Vlad. And when she comes back, Vlad doesn't notice that she watches him transform from masters to plasmias,
Yeah, and Vlad
and
becomes one of her targets then as well.
yeah, and now she said, oh shit, I've been doing this dirty work, but not anymore. And she kind of promises the main ghost I'm hunting now is you.
And this was the
And
episode before the last one, so we're not getting anything for that. Bye.
nope, nope. This is the last time Valerie gets a main role in an episode.
Yep.
Ah,
Did you like Valerie? Well, go fuck yourself.
tough shit.
She died. That's what happened.
No, no, no. She does show up in Phantom Planet. She just doesn't speak.
All right, she's not dead. She just lost her voice. I do kind of get it, right? But
Uh,
like Valerie's been such a main point within the show up this point, especially for
she
season two, It definitely feels like you did
Mhm.
her really dirty to not have her in
Yeah, she
any other
was done
episodes.
very dirty. I think it doesn't matter if you even like season 3 or not. Everyone seems to agree that Valerie was done dirty by this show.
Mm, very
And
much so.
again, and again, I know I made that joke, but damn, if I had a nickel for every time a superhero show had Chris Summer in it and her character gets the short end of the stick, I'd have 2 nickels.
Weird that it happened twice.
Yeah. Well, but destabilized in jokes aside, it's an okay episode. Again, it's nice to see Danny again.
It's
You know,
definitely one
to
of the
have.
stronger ones of this season, right?
Mhm. And I do enjoy at the end that Danny does tell Valerie, you know what, you helped me save Danielle. I'm coming back as your prisoner, and she's just okay. You know what? No, go. We are living this for tonight. Tomorrow, game on.
I believe
So
Daniela got a new voice this
yeah,
episode as
she did.
well.
Hmm.
Krista Swan.
I have no idea who she is, but she did
Hmm.
good.
Yeah, she was fine.
I think I prefer the first voice a bit more, but she did good.
Yeah, I
She
would
did
agree
good.
personally. Yeah. Apparently, Krista Swan was in Mulan 2.
Interesting.
I don't know who as. It's uncredited, apparently. I don't know what else she's done.
Um,
It's not been a lot. I can't find too much. I just noticed Mulan 2 stood out to me.
well, all I can tell you about Mulan 2 is that if we ever do a podcast about it, oh boy, this is gonna be fun. Not for the right reasons, mind you, but oh boy, is it gonna be fun.
Good old Disney direct to video.
Mhm.
But yeah, fun
So,
episode. One of the
fun
stronger ones of
episode.
season 3.
And I guess, and now for the feature presentation. Phantom Planet, the end all be all finale.
Vlad's back. He's the main villain. Woo. We've created a team of ghost hunters to humiliate Danny, which is fine. That's an interesting idea for an episode.
Okay, you know what? You start, I'll join later. I'm curious where this is going.
It's an I like that idea for the episode. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But then we get to see, hey, Danny's like, all right, well, we have other people who can do my job for me, so I'm not gonna be Danny Phantom anymore. I'm gonna use the portal and remove my ghost half. How that works, don't ask. Don't worry about it. But everyone else says he shouldn't do it, but he does do it. And then we learn, oh shit, big asteroid is coming to destroy the Earth. We call it the disasteroid because we're clever with names here. And well, it'll destroy Earth, but it'll also destroy the ghost zone. How does that work? Don't know. Don't ask.
Science.
Yes. Uh, and that's it. But then his mom and dad hatch a plan to destroy the asteroid. Except Vlad sabotages that because reasons. And
Because
then
Vlad is a because now Vlad is just a total dick.
pretty much. And then Vlad's like, "Oh wait, but I have ghost power, so I'll deal with the asteroid." And then he finds out apparently the asteroid's made
No,
of
no,
an
no, no, you forgot that he asks the world to pay him $500 billion
yeah.
and give him complete control of the world before he does that.
Yes, true. We do, elect Vlad as super president basically of the world.
You just call him Vlad.
Yes, I did. English,
Vlad.
I'm good at this. I promise. It's definitely my first language. I swear.
Vlad. I just love it.
But yeah, we elect Vlad as super president of Earth because he can destroy the asteroid. Except, wait, he can't. The asteroid is made of an element that ghosts can't touch or do anything to.
Actoranium. Yeah.
Because that's a thing now, and that you're introducing in your final episode of your final season. There's so much there that you could explain and do with that, but no. And so we have to come up with a new plan. There's something I want to talk about though for this one. I kind
Yeah.
of dislike Sam in this one. If I'm going to be
Uh,
honest.
You're jumping into that without finishing the story
You ready to
recap.
finish
That's
the story recap? All right, fine. I'll finish the story recap. So, what do? Danny goes to the ghost zone to try and, get all the ghosts to help him turn the entire world intangible. And the ghosts decide, fuck you. And then they blast him and maybe kill him. But wait, they don't kill him. They give him his powers back. And so then we're like, okay, he's fighting the ghosts. Then we're like, okay, he actually made friends with the ghosts. Now he convinced them to do the thing, and so we're gonna turn the Earth intangible. But wait, no, they're still fighting a little bit, and then we think, oh no, Danny actually died, and then it's kind of revealed to everybody that Danny is might be Danny
technically maybe
Phantom.
he did, but ghosts aren't the spirits of dead people, so no.
No question mark. So what does that mean? That means that he does come back, and we finally convince all the ghosts to help out and protect the ghost zone and Earth and turn it all intangible. And then at the end of it, Danny is revealed to be Danny Phantom, and there's like a whole celebration for him and statues everywhere built of him, and
And
he's like,
Gallery is just there smiling and clapping.
yeah, clap clap. Danny's a hero
Hmm.
now. I don't have to hunt him anymore, I guess.
Yay.
Oh yeah, I forgot the other part where Vlad just flew off into space
Hmm.
because reasons. Also, ghosts need helmets in space. We didn't mention that part either, which is really weird to me.
Nah, and then the funnier part about this is that again we're gonna get to the comic that continues this in at a later point in time, but apparently the comic actually retcons the fact that the asteroids hits Vlad.
What do you mean the disaster rate hits Vlad?
Like at the end, there's the point where he goes, actually, being a space nomad isn't half bad. It's quiet, and then the disaster just kind of rams into the bit of debris he's on, and then it's like, so did it kill him? Did he die? What?
Oh,
So so the comic apparently retcons that.
so the comic kills Vlad. All right.
No, 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 no. It just shows that he watched the asteroid go through the Earth and just remained in space for a bit.
Oh, he stayed around. He didn't just fly off. Okay, I see now.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Yes.
I'm not sure I care either way though.
Hmm. Well, so anyway, this episode, so like you said, Sammy is really bad in
Yeah,
this
like
finale.
it feels really excuse me. It feels really bad when Danny goes to like give up his ghost half and everything, and I kind of get what they're going for, but it also just kind of feels really bad for a character to say like, man, you were kind of cool when you were the ghost, when you were like half ghost and you had these ghost powers, but now that you're just normal, I don't really care about you anymore. I'll still be your friend, but I just don't like you the same way
Yeah,
anymore.
that's like that was. And
It's
like
like, what?
for the record, I will say the reason for Danny to remove his powers is kind of lame,
Oh yeah.
considering like because let's say this because didn't everyone hate you when you started off? And everyone called you Invisible Bill and everything, and you were like hated and stuff. What changed? And two, I know that Danny is probably not, sometimes it takes him a bit more to defeat the ghost, but this episode really frames him as a loser who can take down ghosts, and it's like it's not like I don't mind necessarily the plot of there are new ghost hunters in town, and he kind of needs to step up his game. I don't mind that, but this episode really just makes him look like
Well,
he's never faced these goals before,
yeah.
and he's just a loser.
It also like we've had other ghost hunters that he's had to deal with. Hi, Valerie.
Hmm.
We know you never
Like
existed until
Valerie, the guys in white, all of these people at the end of season one,
his own parents.
his own parents, yeah. So I get that like the blasters are apparently a lot more coherent. But then I'm also asking, well, so what? It never stopped you before.
It feels weird that these are the people that made Danny decide, oh, I can't do this no more. Sad.
Hmm.
I quit.
Yeah.
it's really weird and it's kind of dumb because it's like you've been doing this with other ghost hunters around. This hasn't mattered to you before. Why does it matter now? It feels
Yeah.
like it feels very contrived to make him want to give up his powers. It feels like it'd be way better if like he had lost them and just couldn't get them back, right? Due to something that the Master Blasters had done. Personally, in my opinion, this would have been better.
Hmm. Uh, and again, it all comes down to, okay, so he removes his ghost powers, and then again, it's kind of like that sounded like Sam is like, oh yeah, you're
Again,
normal
I
again.
get what
Fuck
they're
you.
going for, right? It's like
And
you had
and
the
I,
ability to affect change and make changes and do good in the world, and you just gave all that up because, like, I get what they're going for, but it's like the angle they took with it just makes Sam feel so shallow.
yeah, and again, like, and the Tucker and Jazz aren't all that better, like, because Jazz is actually like, it feels like I lost a good friend. It's like, what do you mean?
He's
What do you
literally your
mean?
brother, and he's still right there. Like,
Yeah,
what are
like,
you saying? You are
yeah,
awful as an older sister.
yeah, like that, and and then again and I'm just like, something. How and again, Sam says you got to fight schools after school while other kids fought acne, and it's like, so what you're saying is that you want your best friend to be beaten up by a bunch of ghosts again.
Well, even
You
that, right?
know,
It's like again, what you're saying is you only cared about him when he was Danny Phantom, not Danny Fenton. Like you're literally
yep.
just saying like Danny Fenton, whomst is basically what you're saying, and it's like God, you are awful, and we're
Yeah,
supposed to
it's
like you
basically,
two as a couple now. Apparently,
yeah,
Valerie
and
was
again,
literally better for him than you are.
yep. You know what? Again, there's in the years I've been a Spider-Man fan, I came across like some people. Some people would, there's always the debate of, Gwen Stacy or Mary Jane Watson, right? And
Mhm.
at least in terms of the comics, people seem to kind of say, Gwen Stacy fell for Peter Parker, Mary Jane Watson fell for Spider-Man.
Yeah, which is
Gwen wins.
which is fair in some ways,
And
right?
and in the way this episode prevents it, Valerie Gray fell for Danny Fenton.
Hmm.
Sam Manson fell for Danny Phantom.
Hmm.
Valerie wins.
Hmm. Fair.
So yeah, I don't like what they did with Sam, and and it's even more baffling considering, again, like you said, that they are the end game. They are the they're the couple that we're ending with.
Again, like I said, right? I get the idea they're going for, and it being this
Mhm.
thing of like, hey, you could affect change, you could do good, and you chose to throw all that away and give it up because some people made you feel bad or something like that. I feel like there's just so many better ways. If he had lost his powers, not given them up, right?
Yeah.
But then came to terms with that and said, yeah, actually, no, I like it like this now. I feel better this way. Like, just kind of like trying to convince himself and then have Sam say something more along the lines of, like, but hey, you could do good within the world. You shouldn't just
Mhm.
give that up, right? You shouldn't just like throw that away so easily. Like that kind of like going at it from that kind of angle would have made it so much better. And I feel
Yeah,
it's
but
not that
then
hard to do
and
that.
then we suddenly get the whole suddenly we get all, oh shit, there's an asteroid coming and it's gonna destroy the entire planet, and it's like, I'm sorry, what? Yeah, the asteroid is foreshadowed at the start, we know of it, but then it's also, huh?
I don't know. There's
Where
so
the
much
fuck is
else
this?
wrong with. I said I like this episode, and I do kind of like this episode, but there's a lot wrong with it too, right?
Like like again, I want to love it because, what? Considering this during the time where a lot of shows were just trying to get canceled on a cliffhanger, which we will never get to see the ending of.
Mhm.
So I was really happy to see an actual finale. But
Something.
no, this is not a good finale, not whatsoever.
Personally, though, Like, there's so much else wrong with this episode that the asteroid part does not bother me at all.
Well, I guess we need kind of a, we need something, and then I will say there's one part I do actually like, and that's when for the first time after Vlad basically gives Jack a lot of shit when they're in the spacecraft on the way to the asteroid, where Jack finally stands up to Vlad and tells
That
them
bit was
to
good.
go fuck himself.
Yeah.
That was a good one. That's a good moment.
Yeah, I like that bit. Like, Vlad's like, hey, you wouldn't, abandon an old friend. And Jack's like, an old friend? No. You? Yeah. It's like, you know what? Good on you, Jack. I'm happy for you. Finally stood up to Vlad. You finally, like, had your moment. Cool.
Hmm.
Good. But everything else in this episode, really bad. Even though I kind of like it in some ways.
And like because there are the moments where like like let's the part where Danny should get his powers back, right?
Mhm.
This is supposed to be one of those moments of you should feel something. This is the moment where like the big clapping moment, right? It's supposed to be like the yeah,
Mhm.
but it's not
Yeah, don't feel that way.
because because all I'm thinking about is no, this is not how it should work. No, there's no, no.
Yeah, actually that's a good point. It really doesn't feel like that. It doesn't have that yeah
And
moment
again,
to it. Huh.
another point is, with all the ghosts, when they're making the Earth intangible, and they actually succeed, and the asteroid just goes through, and everyone's fine. It's like supposed to be like that, yeah, moment, and it's like, all right, we did it, yay.
Woo. Also, yeah, you're right on that one too. Like it doesn't have that really triumphant like feeling, right? Like we
Mm.
conquered it. We beat this thing, the really bad thing.
And then,
I wonder why
again,
that
there's
is.
just
Why
this
doesn't it feel like that?
thing.
I wonder.
I because something does come up here, so I do need to wrap this up.
Sure, sure, sure.
But then and again, we just kind of like, oh, so now Tucker is the mayor for some reason, and Danny and Sam are together because, of course, and there you go.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
bye.
Job
What a
done.
lame finale.
Danny Phantom over. We'll see you next week.
Uh, it's- so yeah, it's just like, eh.
Pretty much. And that's how Danny Phantom went out with an
Yeah, that's how it went out, and despite all the petitions, all the pleas, all the everything, we in Nickelodeon still doesn't. Well, there are the graphic novels now, which yes, we will get to a glitch in time. I'm not sure if it will be next week, but we'll get to it. But yeah, other than that, it kind of sucks that a show that I do like a lot ended on such a whimper.
I mean, that can happen, right? But I get what you mean. It definitely feels bad when like this show's really great and then it kind of goes out and it finishes and you're like, yeah, hmm,
That was a
sucks.
thing.
That was a thing I enjoyed, and now I
Hmm.
kind of don't.
Yep.
I will say the fandom has definitely kept this show alive a lot, right? They've done a lot for it and a lot with it, more than what the show ever did, which is probably definitely a good thing because I think that's how the show should be remembered. Definitely not by its creator and what we've learned about him since, and
Yeah.
definitely not for a less than stellar season 3 ending.
Hmm. But you know what? It is, I think, better that people remember the good stuff about it and not just
Mm,
the bad stuff. Because,
yeah,
some shows, when they end on a bad note, that's usually what people remember. But at least here, it seems like people remember more of the good rather than the bad.
yeah,
So I appreciate that.
yeah.
And with that said, that's all for this episode of The Outcast. We hope you enjoyed it. What do you think about Danny Phantom Season 3? You can tell us all about it in the comment section below, on our Tumblr, which is Berkcast Team, and on our Twitter, which is Berkcast with a capital B, capital C. So, until the next time, I was HC.
I was Wolf.
And we will see you all in the next episode. Take care and don't ever forget to go, Ghost.
Bye bye.